All right. Hello, everybody. Of course, we're just going to wait a few minutes, give people a chance to get in here. I hope everybody had a good weekend as we're starting off the week again with another week of beach news and all that. So, let's see. So, as I said, I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Let's see. Into the night we felt alive. Into the tears we knew you'd cry. Into goodbye. Anyways. Into the night we felt alive. Into the dreams we knew you'd cry. Into goodbye I know you'd write. Into the night. Anyways. Dashing and daring, courageous and caring, faithful and friendly with stories to share. All through the forest they sing out in chorus, marching along as their song fills the air. Gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. Anyway. All through the forest they sing out in chorus, marching along as their song fills the air. Gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. Let's see now. Batman, da 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 da. Batman, da 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 da. Batman, da 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 da. Batman, da 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 da. Batman, Batman, Batman. Let me see now. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size. Can't you see? Just like flies, look out. There goes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen up. He's got radioactive blood from overhead. Take a look overhead. Hey there. There goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of light, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Um, what do you come by and say? Yeah, Spider-Man. In the chill of light, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrived just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Welcome is, he is yours, action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang up, whenever there's a hang up, you'll find a Spider-Man. So let's see, okay, so we're up to like 7 minutes now, so about the 8 minute mark, I'll probably start talking about what's on tap for tonight. Okay, let's see. All right, so here's what's on tap for tonight. I have actually 5 stories. I initially was going to do 6, but I realized one of the 2 anime stories I was thinking of doing was well, I got 6 articles to read, 5 articles to read from, mind you. One of them I initially was going to do 6, but realized that one of them kind of was a spoiler type article, so we don't really do spoilers here. Try not to. Um, Hello, hey, action, hey, toys. It's okay. ah, um, yes, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people. That'd be appreciated. Thank you for that, toys. Um, let's see. Aside from that, we do have some wrestling news as well. I'll go over that a little bit too. Few interesting things that happened over the weekend here, including um, another announcement to the WWE Hall of Fame class. So here's what's on tap in terms of the stories we'll be covering tonight. Um, let's see, we got like 4 comic stories and 1 anime story. The anime story, of course, is a new anime adaptation for Spice and Wolf. Also, in terms of the comic stories, artist Joelle Jones gets accused of tracing. Um, let's see, Marvel artist Joelle Jones gets accused of tracing another person's work. Also, Marvel Comics with a release is going to be preaching to us again about how America is systemically racist. Um, let's see. Marvel writer Jason Aaron issues an apology. Um, when he, after being accused of racism, and Bob Chapek has some interesting things to say on, you know, I guess he claims that Disney is a force for inclusion, but doesn't want it to become a political football. And I know I did see a video from Jeremy the Quartering earlier today about I guess there's some pushback from the left that Disney isn't. So Florida had passed a law, basically saying that they don't want, they don't want that younger than, let's say, that younger than fourth grade kids should not be being taught things like transgenderism or anything like that. The woke crowd, um, basically Bob Chapek in that regard had said he wanted to stay neutral on that. Now, I don't know if this article I'll read in a bit here has anything to do with that as much, but I guess we'll wait and see. So that, and then as I said, we got some wrestling news to go through as well. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. Anyways. There we go. All right. So now let's go ahead and started with this. So here's the first article we're gonna go through tonight. Trial of the Amazons artist Joelle Jones, accused of tracing X-Men art by Pepe Larraz. Article by J.B. Augustine, published back on March 2nd, which I believe was last Wednesday, I believe. Let's see. Well, let's see. No, the 28th was Monday. Yeah, so Wednesday, last Wednesday. So it just goes to show we haven't read through any of the articles, since probably almost a full week. So, anyways, artist Joelle Jones, known for her work on Lady Killer at Dark Horse, and more recently at DC on the new Wonder Girl, Yara Flor, is causing a slight stir with allegations she lifted aspects of illustrations by Marvel and X-Men's Pepe Larraz, X-Men 1 2021. The accusation of plagiarism began when Twitter user Samui47 noticed something peculiarly familiar about promotional art by Jones for the Trial of the Amazons event when it was compared to a group shot by Larraz of the new X-Men team in 2021's X-Men #1. In a post, Samui47 shared side-by-side screenshots from both materials. Larraz's X-Men and Jones's Amazons, for comparisons, and it does look like two of the Wonder Girls in Jones's piece, Cassie Sandsmark and Donna Troy, have the exact same poses and facial expressions as Jean Grey and Polaris, respectively, in Larraz's art. I guess this is what they're talking about right here. I guess on the left side is Jean Grey and Polaris, and then on the right there's Cassie and Donna, I guess. Let's see. Oh. Creating a thread, Samui47 then posted the original pencils for further comparison. Well, I'm saying the one on the right, though, they have more of them in there. Self appointed sleuth also added a video with a crossfade effect going from the DC to the Marvel image that shows how striking the similarities are. So I guess this guy, I guess this guy has so much time that he can sit here and pick apart artwork. Okay. Um, and of course, feel free to comment on it if you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation or say anything on. That's always welcome here when we're going through these articles. And these clips I made hastily. The above is leading a lot of readers to believe Jones did indeed directly trace the work of Leres. Um, Although neither has commented on the matter, fans analysis analysts are disappointed that Jones, one of the most praised talents in the industry at the moment, would stoop to tracing if she in fact has. Perch of YouTube's Comics by Perch added his 2 cents on the issue, but didn't take a hard line with this one, calling it an unforced error, in quotes, unforced error on something throwaway, unquote, Trial of the Amazons. He recognizes the promotional piece as a quote unquote copy will also be taking the high road, not wanting to see Joelle Jones get canceled, for instance, should things reach that point. Perch cares more about how the industry could react and how they should handle tracing, copying, as this is a problem that comes up from time to time. Ethan Van Sciver would opine on the controversy as well, and he was a lot firmer in his position than Perch, maintaining it is incumbent on the artist to let the buck stop with them. He says, as an artist, he knows, quote, how hard it is to draw, period, unquote. And he has a low tolerance for, quote unquote, swipers. Quote, stealing from and tracing other artists with the hope you will not get caught is stealing, unquote, EVS said. Quote, it is stealing and it is not good. It is just not cool, unquote. He also clarified that he likes Joelle Jones and her quote unquote exciting art, but in his mind, there is no doubt she traced Laris's X-Men. Quote, there's like zero work being done here, unquote. EBS declared, looking at a layered over face of the two pieces. Hmm. He added, quote, quote, those without swipe, unquote, may cast the first stones. Um, quote, and I'm throwing a whole army of stones, unquote. EBS continued. Quote, I do not swipe. That is not something that you do, unquote. Drawing is hard work, he elaborated, and the mistakes an artist makes are theirs to own. If one can't do the work, they shouldn't, quite simply, unquote. And there we go down. So yeah, that apparently yeah, so basically, yeah, so what they're saying based on the investigation of this Samui guy, they all believe that she may have traced his work. Now, I'm not an artist, so so I can't really say, you know, whether or not she did. You know, um, people probably more in the know there probably know, people, actual artists like Ethan, probably know, you know, when that, I mean, Purchase take on it. He doesn't want to. He goes, okay, unfortunately, yeah, she may have taken it if she did in fact trace and plagiarize it. Okay, she took a shortcut. She probably shouldn't have. Okay, is that one error in judgment? You know, that means that everything she does should be condemned. I think that was Purchase point right there. Is that, yeah, she may have made a mistake in judgment in terms of, trying to get away with maybe, whether or not you want to call it laziness or just, unwillingness to use your own work, do your own work. Um, you know, Again, I'm not an artist, so it's kind of hard for me to really say, I can't condemn her because um not that I'm not an artist, first off. So um anyways, if you guys have anything you want to add to that, go ahead and chime in. If not, we'll move on to the next article. Give you guys a moment to respond. La di di da di da, la di di da di da, la di di da di da. All right. Okay, we'll move on to the next story then, as it would appear. Nobody has anything they'd like to add to this one, so we'll move on to the next story then. And this one sounds like we're going to get a little bit of a preachy here. Marvel's upcoming, in smaller quotes, My Superhero is Black, unsmaller quote, will tell the story, quote, of the industry on its path to the modern black superhero, unquote, claims America is systemically racist. So once again, we got woke idiots, twidiots who are claiming system or who are um, claiming systemic racism once again. Article by Spencer McCooley, published March 4th, which was this past Friday. So let's see what Spencer can tell us about this situation. Marvel has announced My Superhero is Black, a new, in smaller quotes, comics history book, which, through interviews with various creators, aims to tell the story of, in quotes, the journey of the industry on its path to the modern black superhero, unquote. This right here is from Captain America, Volume 7, Number 25, The Tomorrow Soldier Conclusion, words by Rick Remender, art by Carlos Pacheco, Stuart Imonen, Mariano Taibo, Wade Von Grob Badger, Dean White, Veronica Gandini, and Marie Garcia. Garcia. Okay, so set to be penned by co-creator of the Eisner Award-winning adaptation of Octavia Butler's Kindred and self-described quote all-around champion of black culture, John Jennings, and the Women of Marvel podcast co-host slash producer Angelique Roach. My Superhero is Black, recount the story of the publisher's black characters, quote, from the introduction of Black Panther in the 1960s and publisher Stan Lee's early efforts at addressing systemic racism to the groundbreaking work of creators like Billy Graham, Christopher Priest, Reggie Hudlin, and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ah, yes, Ta-Nehisi Coates, the whiny guy. The guy is whining another whiner about racism. Well, My Superhero is Black offers a rich examination, celebration, and historical overview of Marvel's black characters and well, that part is probably good. I mean, I'm all for I'm all for pointing out the positives of things like you know black superheroes and the contributions they make to the universe. Of course, why do we? But in essence, why do we have to segregate? Why do we have to talk about black superheroes, white superheroes, Jewish superheroes, Asian superheroes, and all that? Why can't we just talk about superheroes? Should it really matter what the color of their skin or whatever else? Whether they're a man or a woman, or that really matter? They're going out helping people. That should be enough to talk about. Said Marvel in their official announcement of the title. Quote, it also includes accounts from prominent black creators and luminaries about their personal relationships with Marvel superheroes, unquote. All right, I'm sure we've all had those kind of experiences where we've engaged through comics and through medium. Excuse me a moment. I gotta go tend to. I believe my. I believe our dog is barking. Chloe's barking. So I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Anyways. Yep. Just had to tend to Chloe and get her to knock off the barking. So let's get back to this article then. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly in promotion of the book, Jennings explained that he and Roach had approached creation by endeavoring, quote, to create a love letter to the characters we hold dear. All right, that's cool. A celebration of the black characters and creators in the vast Marvel universe, and a document for future generations to come. All right, well, that generally sounds positive, and I think we can all get behind that. That part of it, I think we'd all generally agree with, focus on the positives instead of, trying to victim blame or trying to like play the victim. And then here's the introduction of the Black Panther, I guess. The fabulous Fantastic Four are trapped in the incredible realm of the Black Panther, also featuring the way out and wonderful Wyatt Wingfoot. Back, of course, when comics were more anthologies and single character features. Fantastic Four, Volume 1, number 52, The Black Panther, 1966. Yeah, 66 is also the year that the Marvel Superheroes comic cartoon came out as well from Grant William Lawrence. And it was the year before the Spider-Man cartoon came out. It's a classic. Marvel Comics, words by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, art by Jack Kirby, Joe Sinnott, and Stan Goldberg. Excuse me a moment. Again, sorry. All right, I'm back. So Chloe decided to lie down on her couch now. So hopefully that will keep her settled down now. Anyways, okay, so continuing with the article here. Quote, one of Marvel Comics' core mantras is that they want their comics to show the world outside your window, unquote. And that is exactly what they have done over the last 8 decades. Um, said author, um, said the author. Quote, my superhero is black is not just a reference book, but it shows the potential for these amazing black characters. through new windows and new vantage points. We hope the audiences are as thrilled to experience a spectrum of representations of blackness in My Superhero is Black via the lens of the universe that is Marvel Comics as we are. Yeah, again, the one, you know, Luke Cage Hero for Hire. Sensational Origin issue. Hero Hire, Volume 1, Number 1, Out of Out of Hell, A Hero, 1972. Cover art by John Romita Sr. Offering her own insights into the book's development, Roach asserted, quote, I knew that the story was one that needed to be told, unquote. Quote, the narrative of the black superhero, its impact on individuals, and how it has evolved in our country and around the world tells not only an amazing, entertaining narrative of fictional stories, but reflects the real life complexities of black representation in media, unquote. She added, as quote, as a lifelong genre fan, John and I, as lifelong genre fans, John and I have taken great care to craft not just a historical reference, but a narrative that highlights a journey of black superheroes, past, present, and future. All right. So overall, it sounds like um, they're doing a good thing here. See, The Tomb of Dracula, Volume 1, Number 10. His name is Blade. 1973. Words by Marv Wolfman. Art by Gene Colan, Jack Abel, and Petra Goldberg. And of course, feel free to, if you have anything you'd like to say on the article or on the content of the article, feel free to add your vantage point as we upon its release on October 11th, My Superhero is Black will serve as the second entry in the recently announced nonfiction collaboration between Marvel and literature publishing house Gallery Books. The first, the previously announced and similarly intentioned Super Visible, the story of the women of Marvel, helmed by the Life of Captain Marvel writer Margaret Stohl and the Women of Marvel podcast producer and co-creator Judy Stevens, is set to release on March 29th. So, 3 weeks from tomorrow, basically. One worries how the book will address the act of race swapping, as many fans of all skin colors have grown to view such acts not as any sort of victory for representation. Which is true. I mean, the fact is that these writers are race swapping to push a particular agenda. And that's just that's just, you shouldn't be doing that. Let's see. But rather hand me down condescension. Are you interested in My Superhero is Black? Let us know your thoughts on social media. It might be an interesting read as long as they don't get too whiny about systemic racism. Kind of it's kind of funny too because here's the thing: as part of the title of the article here, um, part of the title of the article here, Spencer here, that the story claims America is systemically racist, but I didn't see anything. He didn't really provide any evidence of that. He didn't necessarily. He didn't necessarily say that the authors themselves had said that America is systemically racist. So why that particular line got thrown into the headline here is beyond me. And made me think of, and I have to kind of apologize because you know he gave no evidence here of how they were claiming that the authors were saying that America is systemically racist. Now, as long as they're not, in the book whining about systemic racism or trying to play victim, the project itself sounds like a good project. I'd love, I think all of us would love to, recount the impact that any here, it shouldn't, and again, it shouldn't be about, you know, a black superhero is no stronger or weaker than a white superhero. Okay, or is no okay. Probably the better way of saying it. Black superhero is no better or worse than a white superhero. Okay. Um, a male superhero is no better or worse than a female superhero. Okay. As a general rule. Now, granted, you can argue specific, like, is this specific hero better than this specific hero? Yes, but it's not because of their gender. It's not because of their race. It's not because of their religion. It's not because of whatever their preferences are. It's you know it's the underlying motivation. Um, and here's another point too with this. Here's another point with this too. I think the underlying goal for most, if not all, superheroes. I mean, I know we've seen some exceptions, but I think for most superheroes, for the great majority of them, the underlying motivation is to make a world is to use their powers to make the world a better place and to help people where they can, no matter what skin color they are, what gender they are, what this whole notion of you trying to use superheroes to push agendas or to try to illustrate the evils of the world is wrong. Okay. um or what you perceive as the evils of the world, the real world. We should all, regardless of skin color, gender, or whatever, we should all want to look up to a superhero. It shouldn't matter what skin color they are, or what gender they are, or what their preferences are. You know, as long as the hero has a motivation to help people and do what they can to help people, nothing else should really matter. Using heroes, using established characters to push agendas is wrong. Period. Anyways, Anyways, so now, if you, unless you have anything you want to add to it, I'll give you a little bit here to while I prepare, give you a chance to. And move on to the next story here. All right. Hmm. Just waiting to see if anybody would like to say anything in regards to this. All right, guess we'll move on then to the next story then. Marvel writer Jason Aaron issues apology, donates pay after being accused of racism over new King Conan character. Article by Spencer McCooley, published March 6, 2022, which was yesterday. So let's see, let's see, let's see what's going on here. It sounds like somebody was forced to bend a knee. Marvel writer Jason Aaron has issued an apology after his new King Conan character series sparked widespread outrage and accusations of racism over what some perceived as an appropriation of Native American culture. Okay, King Conan, Volume 2, Number 3, Conan's Last Stand at the Edge of the World, Part 3, The Princess of Golden Ruin, wrote by Jason Aaron, art by Mahmoud Asrar and Matthew Wilson. All right. Well, I guess we'll wait and see because I wonder what's going on here. Introduced by Aaron and artist Mahmoud Asrar in February 16th, King Conan Volume 2, Number 3, the controversial character in question reveals herself to the titular warrior um, after she is surprised to find he not only crashed upon her home, the Golden Ruin, but survived a night fighting against its undead legions. Really? They're getting well. Let's see what else is in this. Upon their meeting, the mysterious woman gives her name as Princess uh, Madoaka, Madoaka, and explains that she began life in an unspecified fictional kingdom in South America before her love for an explorer from the similarly fictional country of Acheron led to her home being raped and pillaged by his fellow countrymen for its treasure. Okay, doesn't sound thus far. No, I don't see anything racist in that. King Conan, Volume 2, Number 3, Conan's Last Stand at the Edge of Tomorrow, Part 3, The Princess of Golden Ruin. Blamed for the ruin of her people, Princess Madoaka was then exiled, being set adrift at sea with a pile of treasure and cursed to serve wherever she should land, as a diversion for all future would-be invaders of her home, sending her sending her out to sea to so people won't. Yeah, well, that's not necessarily surprising. I mean, Lot kind of did the same thing in the Bible, where he actually sent. He offered his daughters to the men who wanted to um, have their way with the angels who had came to visit him. So, uh, yeah, very similar there. And here's some more from that. Though the entirety of Aaron's story depicts fictional characters and locales, the Avengers writer came under fire on social media after some readers took offense to both the princess sharing a name with the real world Pocahontas, who in her later life went privately by the name of Matoaka, and her depiction as the victim of white explorers. Okay, that kind of. Okay. So what? Are they saying because it happened to Pocahontas, therefore it can't happen to anybody else? Sounds. They're getting upset at this over that. I mean, because he chose to depict that situation here. Sounds kind of stupid. Sounds like the Twidiots are at it again. This backlash was best encapsulated by Final Space and My Little Pony Equestria Girls Choose Your Own Ending staff writer Kelly Lynn D'Angelo, whose response to the character's reveal in a previous February preview of the issue was widely cited by the outraged as reasoning for their own anger. All right, let's see what. Okay, quote: "Disgusted isn't even close to a word for it." Unquote. Began D'Angelo. Quote: How is this okay? She was she was a real little girl to do this her to us over and over. I am just at a loss. Disgusting. Does does she not deserve rest? Reclamation, honor, you colonizers make me oh boy. She sounds like a total twit. She's this one is getting basically upset. This lady's getting upset because a woman in an adventure a woman in an adventure comic series got bad things that happened to her. Okay? This is so stupid. Okay, this lady she wrote what were the things that she wrote? Final stage where I have My Little Pony quest here. Um Miss D'Angelo in adventure stories, bad things happen to everybody. Yes, women sometimes do get the brunt of it because there's the added element of, the quote unquote sexual violence. Okay? It does happen. Okay? So, and according to, I guess, one news article, they said Pocahontas makes her Marvel debut in King Conan #3. Sort of. Uh, Quote, at Marvel, I highly recommend you pull this from your Kanan, unquote. She continued, quote, you create something amazing like Echo, then pull this about for shame. Stan Lee would be rolling. I don't. I don't. No. I don't think. I don't. As much as Stan Lee was a champion for the little guy, I think he would even see this as kind of an overreact by these people. This is another case of the twidiots stark raving mad. You know. Again, feel free, of course, to comment on any of this as I'm reading it. If you have anything you want to ask about or say in regards to this. Yeah, I don't think, because I think even Stan Lee knows that sometimes in order to put a good story together, yes, part of Marvel's theme is to to reflect what's right outside your window. But sometimes what's right outside your window isn't always a rosy garden. For some people, what's right outside the window is the threat of violence. You know, you know, danger does lurk. D'Angelo then declared, "quote This is active violence against us, our community, the sexualization of a real young girl that was arped and killed young affects our murdered and missing indigenous women to." Oh, God. Comparing what happens to a fictional character to something that happens in the real world. Delusional. You are a backward sick, and you are backward sick and should donate every penny you earned creating this to again, another one of these twidiots. But I am truly aghast, she added. How do you not have a sensitivity reader for this? And he used her real name. You made this even worse. First off, it's not Pocahontas they're depicting here. They just gave her the same name. What it sounds like Kelly Lynn D'Angelo here is arguing is that if one Kelly is raped, then all Kellys are raped. That seems to be her. Now, before anybody jumps on that, I am not advocating for people to go out and do harm to this woman. Okay, let's just clear that up right away. I'm just pointing to her reasoning. Okay, you basically make it sound like if it happens to one, it happens to everyone. If it happens to one person, then it happens to everyone. And that's not always the case. That's why it's called, treating each situation as its own situation. Okay, so you made this even worse. The writers, creatives at Marvel, everyone involved, you should be donating everything made on this to MMIW, whatever that is. I am truly just at a loss. The disrespect. Yeah, much ado about nothing here. She's, you know, basically it's, you'd almost have to argue that the way she's reacting, it's almost like she's the one she's the victim, and that's just baloney. As she drew her thread to a close, D'Angelo addressed Aaron directly, tagging the writer and exclaiming, "Hey, at Jason Aaron, you are a bleep writer." Yeah, and you are a bleep idiot. Quote, I originally wrote a much worse insult, she further noted, but I decided, quote, decided to keep the peace because nothing that I say to you will be anything near the mauling you're going to receive in the spirit world once you enter it, bud. Anyways, ultimately on March 2nd, Bleeding Cool founder Rich Johnston reported that he had received a statement on the matter from Aaron himself, wherein the writer conceded, quote, in King Conan number 3, I made the ill-considered decision to give a character the name of Mataoka, or Matoaka, a name most closely associated with the real life Native American Pocahontas. So what? I'm sorry. So what? Just because Pocahontas had that name doesn't mean she's the only one who can ever have that name. Okay? The whole thing is here is that the way this woman and the way the people with her are reacting, it's as if, you know, he's trying, by using her name, he's therefore trying to validate or justify what happened to Pocahontas, which is not what he was doing. Okay? There can be more. I mean, if if let's say somebody names their baby Mataoka, and that baby goes on to do great things, is that still cultural appropriation? Would she be as enraged if Mataoka or Matoaka, if somebody named Matoaka became a doctor who cured cancer, or somebody named Matoaka, you know, got through, was a teacher who got through to her students to where they all went on to become successful in their own lives. Or if a woman named Matoaka, you know, saved somebody's life, would she still be outraged? Basically, what this is boiling down to is they're upset because they apparently think that Pocahontas is the only one who can have the name Matoaka. Now, granted, this girl is apparently one of the books she's written is My Little Pony, the My Little Pony book, which probably means there's not really as much terms of, like King Conan it's an adventure series. It's kind of a dark adventure series, you know. All right. People are going to get hurt, even killed. And yes, you're going to have, because that can happen. Bad things unfortunately can happen to people. Just because you depict it in fiction doesn't mean that you advocate it. It is what it is. No. Oh, yo, Dark Sheen talking about Dark Clan. Yo! If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Um, yeah, but basically that's what we're getting out of this particular article is how um, is basically how somebody has chosen to take offense at something that they really shouldn't have. Basically because of the fact the woman who's a victim in this story happens to share the name of a real life person. I mean, you know, King Conan here. Okay, he shares a name with the famous he shares a name. Now granted, in the with this guy I'm talking about, of course, it's more of his middle name, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is the author of the Sherlock Holmes books. Now, because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, since he shares a name with King Conan, does that make him a burly warrior too? Or does it make King Conan here a writer? you know, um, and again, this is also a fictional work too. Just because he named her gave her the same name as Pocahontas, Madoaka, doesn't mean that it is the Madoaka that we all are talking about here. Just because he gave this character the same name as Pocahontas doesn't mean that it is Pocahontas. And anybody who thinks that is delusional. Quote, this new character is a supernatural 1,000-year-old princess of a cursed island within a world of pastiche and dark fantasy and was never intended to be based on anyone from history. Okay, that's where he should have ended it right there. He shouldn't have to apologize for this because he just gave her the same name. She wasn't meant to have any connection to anybody in real life. The fact that people made that connection is on them, not on him. Okay? He said, quote, I should have better understood the name's true meaning and resonance and recognize it wasn't appropriate to use it. No, you have nothing to apologize for, Jason. You have nothing to apologize for. You just gave the character a name that was the same name as somebody else who had suffered similar circumstances. Doesn't mean you were actually trying to depict that person. Um, it just simply means you were creating a character and just happened to name her the same name as somebody else who is famous and did have um did have a hard life. Jason Aaron, you have nothing to apologize for. The fact that you are bending the knee shows more your weakness than anything else. If you know that your character was not intended to be a depiction of Pocahontas. That should be enough. And if people like Kelly Lynn D'Angelo are too delusional to not see that, that's on them, not on you. Quote, I understand the outrage expressed by those who hold the true Madoaka's legacy dear. Why? It's a new character altogether. And for all of this and the distress it's caused, don't apologize to these people, Jason. They're gonna hang you by your scrotum if you do that, because that's what they want. He concluded. Quote, as part of that apology, I've already taken what I was paid for the issue and donated it to the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. The character's name and appearance will be adjusted for the rest of this miniseries, and in all digital collective editions. Again, you shouldn't do that. Should you knew you weren't doing it, so there's not. You knew what your intention truly was. It's on them to deal with. As of writing, it is unknown what new name will be given to the now former Princess Madoaka. What do you make of the outrage against Aaron, new King Conan character? I think it's stupid. I think it's over the top. I think he should have stood his ground. Let them cry. Their issue, not his. Shouldn't be his. Because he did not have the original intention of being that way. Hey, Rick. Welcome to the stream. We've had some interesting articles going on tonight. I know you can go back and catch some of the earlier ones that I talked about, including Joelle Jones getting accused of tracing, and Marvel Comics supposedly pushing the systemic racism argument. But when I went through that article, I found that the author did not provide any real evidence to that. Now, this one we just read was somebody taking offense to somebody naming a character after a real historical character, and basically just um, assuming certain things. So, anyways, and if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream and see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. And of course, as always, feel free to, if you have anything you want to say on the material, feel free to basically add your commentary to it. All right, so moving on to the next article here. Disney CEO Bob Chapek claims company is a quote force for inclusion unquote, but doesn't want it to become quote unquote a political football. Article by John F. Trent published earlier today. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So Disney CEO Bob Chapek's Disney CEO Bob Chapek sent out a company-wide email following a meeting he had with Disney LGBTQ plus leaders following criticism the company received from activities and allegedly employees over a pending Florida legislation that prohibits schools teaching about gender identity through the third grade. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of what the Quartering was talking about earlier in his video as well. So basically, Florida basically passed a law that said you could not start teaching about like gender identity, you know, transgenderism, all that until, prior to the fourth grade, basically. Basically, even as Jeremy put it, kids, kindergarten through third grade, which would be, or even pre K through third grade. So basically, I think 5 to about 8 or 9, younger than 10, they don't really need to, they don't, they need to be kids. They don't need to be indoctrinated with this stuff that young. Okay. So, as previously reported, Disney faced criticism from activists over the fact that they had not publicly condemned Florida Bill HB 1557, parental rights in education. hmm Basically, I think Chapek, well, and even as the quartering had pointed out too, in that is that um, Disney isn't staying neutral in this because as much um, it's not necessarily because of the backlash, or they're staying neutral on it because they know that if they don't, whatever side they go on, they're liable to lose money on. So they just don't want to offend either side. They want people to keep spending their money. And now, granted, not to say that. Now, I know that Jeremy's point was that a lot of people believe that those on the right tend to have more money, but that's not necessarily the case. There's people like myself who I'm not rich. Now, granted, I don't go. I live in California. I don't go to Disneyland, but I just choose not to. I just choose not to spend my money there. You know, I've done that for years. It's just not something I'm interested in going to. I'm not a big amusement park person. You know, but the fact that and it's kind of one of those things where it's a rarity because Disney usually falls on the woke side of things, and this time, they're not following the woke mindset. In this case, they're following the money, which is what they should be doing. And so, getting more into the article here, according to the Florida Senate's website, the bill, quote, requires district school boards to adopt procedures that comport with certain provisions of law for notifying students' parents of specified information, requires such procedures to reinforce fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding upbringing and control of their children, prohibits school district from adopting procedures or student support forms that prohibit school district personnel from notifying parent about specified information, or that encourages students to withhold from parent such information. So basically, what it comes down to is, and Jeremy was saying that a lot of those on the left are saying this is don't say gay. This is the don't say gay bill, which is not the case. Basically, what it's saying is that the parents have a right to know what the schools are teaching their kids. The parents also have a right to say, "Hey, if you're going to teach my son or daughter this or that, and I don't feel that they should be being taught that in school, I want to talk to them about that." They have a right to do that. This woke baloney, this interventionist on the woke's behalf, the educational system behalf of usurping the parents' authority, and um, of usurping the parents' authority, and and their and usurping their rights, is akin to child abuse. schools that try to force agendas on kids are committing a form of child abuse. You know, um, pushing certain agendas to certain age level where it is inappropriate for them. Okay. I mean, again, if why should we be teaching pre-K to third grade? Why should we even be discussing transgenderism or gender identity at all? Aside from the fact that if you're born with if you're born with particular, then that's what you're born as. We've heard about some of the situations. I know Chambers of My Heart talked about a couple of cases, and I know where there have been certain parents that have actually forced their young kids to go through gender transition surgery even before. And I've said this before that they shouldn't even be doing that. I mean, that's totally messed up to try to force your kid even before they've gone through puberty to have them do a sex change. Okay, that's just outright wrong. You should let nature take its course in that regard. But, basically what this bill is saying is that parents' right are sacred, okay? Sacrosanct. You don't usurp parents' right. If the parents don't want their kids to learn about this stuff, you know, at the pre-K or third grade level, and they shouldn't be being taught it. And if you are planning on trying to teach that, you should notify the parents that yeah we're considering teaching this, and the parents have a right should always have a right to opt out if they do not want their child to participate in that you know discussion. Okay, kids that young should not. Okay, personally, I don't believe a child below the okay, let's say anybody below, well, I'll just say 18 because that seems to be the more consensus, but we know better. Okay, so actually I'll say 15. Nobody below the age of 15 should even be thinking about sex. Okay? They should not even be thinking about sex, below 15. Okay, so Classroom of the Elite season 2 announced for summer 2022. Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Hey, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, man. Let's see. They don't want to lose money from parents, you know, from parents buy the stuff for their kids. Yeah, that's right, Rick. That's exactly the point that's been made. That's why Disney yeah. Anime are you watching right now? Opinion on Okutsu dub voice on Yuta. Well, I don't have because I haven't. If Yuta Kutsu, which I believe is what from Jujutsu, right? Jujutsu Kaisen. I haven't actually watched that anime yet, so don't really have an opinion on the. Don't even know. Hey, Muke, Miss Ty. Hey, BT, that's all right. And if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Um, yeah. So What do you think of Damian Fox in the of the sec? I don't follow basketball. B2. I don't follow basketball. I haven't really followed sports in quite some time, honestly. So I focus more on like this stuff, on animes, cartoons, comics, manga, pro wrestling. So, anyways, moving on with the article here. Um, the bill also prohibits school district personnel from discouraging or prohibiting parental notification and involvement in critical decisions affecting students' mental, emotional, or physical well being, prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation and that's where I think the don't say gay um, aspects coming from. Prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation, gender idea in certain grade levels. Requires school districts to notify parents of healthcare services. Authorizes parent to bring action against school districts to obtain declaratory judgment. Provides for additional award of injustice relief damages. Basically, what the law is essentially saying here, what the Florida law is, it's reaffirming the parents' right to make the decisions in how to raise their child. The school's job is to educate the child. It's to teach them the three R's. It's not to you know. Now, people would argue, well, it's also meant to get them to develop their critical thinking skills and all that. You can do that without agenda pushing for one, but two, for some of that stuff, you do that when they're older. Okay, you do that when they're older. But at the younger grade levels, you teach them the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic. That's what they need most. And you can, of course, throw in like science and social science and all, science, history, all that as well, geography. You teach them the basics. You don't try to indoctrinate them. Okay. And reasonable attorney fees and court costs to certain parents. The bill specifically states, quote, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Basically meaning that if that for again, going back to one of the things I was saying earlier, kids that young shouldn't be thinking about sex. Okay? If the teachers are having to discuss certain issues regarding quote unquote sex with the kids, it should be age appropriate. Okay? Kids at that age level, kindergarten to third grade, only thing in regards to their genitalia that they should be worried about is you know what's supposed to come out of where. You know, the fact that yes, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. The things that little kids should know is that, and that nobody has a right to touch those spots in any way, shape, or form. So, All right. So, in response to the bill, Disney initially released a statement that reads, quote, "We understand how important this issue is to our LGBTQ plus employees and many others. For nearly a century, Disney has been a unifying force um, that bring people together," unquote. Quote, "We are determined that it remains a place where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. The biggest impact we can have in creating a more inclusive world is okay, I think should the inspiring content we produce, not inspiring we content produce. That's a typo. The welcoming culture we create here and the diverse community organizations we support, including those representing the LGBTQ plus community," unquote. The statement concludes. So basically, he's just trying to stay neutral. He's trying to stay neutral because he knows that if he comes out too hard on the left, then the right won't come and, as Rick pointed out earlier, and Jeremy pointed out too, they'd lose money on that. Okay. Do you go to any anime? What Mookie and Jokey? Okay. Anime Mookie and Jukies? I've never heard those particular terms before. B2? Ah, first time I think I've heard those particular terms. Hmm. So yeah, couldn't really tell you that one. Okay. Now, the company's CEO, Bob Chapek, sent a company wide email obtained by Blog Mickey. In the email, Chapek begins by discussing Ukraine before moving on to the point of the email, which is his discussion with Disney LGBTQ plus leaders and the Florida bill. He begins the main point of the email writing, quote, "On Friday, I met with a small group of Disney LGBTQ plus leaders to discuss controversial legislation pending in Florida that would impact their communities. I want to thank them for a meaningful, illuminating, and at times deeply moving conversation," unquote. Quote, "I told the group I would write to the entire company with my thoughts on the issues we discussed. I wish every one of our employees could have heard not just the passionate voices in the room, but the bravery, honesty, and pride those voices expressed. It is a conversation I will not forget," unquote, he stated. From there, Chapek wrote, quote, "One common theme was disappointment that the company has not issued a public statement condemning the legislation. That disappointment was compounded by the fact that while not perfect, our company has a long history of supporting the LGBTQ plus community, and in fact has played an important role in the personal journeys of so many of our employees," unquote. Well, it's wise for him not to condemn the legislation because the legislation isn't anti LGBTQ plus, it's pro parents' rights. Just because you don't agree with most parents doesn't mean that you have a right to force your agenda down their kids' throats, especially without their consent or their knowledge. He then declared, quote, "I want to be crystal clear. I and the entire leadership team unequivocally stand in support of our LGBTQ plus employees, their families, and their communities. Quote, and we are committed to creating a more inclusive company and world. I understand that the very need to reiterate that commitment means we still have more work to do, unquote, he added. And this is this is the thing where people said this started to um, take a downward spin there. He then proceeded to explain why the company has not issued a statement in regard to the bill. Quote, I also believe that you deserve an explanation for why we have not issued a statement. We are going to have a more fulsome conversation about this at the company wide Reimage Tomorrow Summit in April. But I will preview that discussion now as it is so timely, unquote. As we have seen time and again, corporate statements do very little to change outcomes or minds, unquote, he explained. Quote, instead, they are often weaponized by one side or the other to further divide and inflame. Simply put, they they can be counterproductive, undermine more effective ways to achieve change, unquote. So basically, translation of that, he knows that if Disney comes out and says and condemns the bill, they're going to lose a lot of money because there are going to be a lot of parents who are going to stop, who are going to stop, supporting Disney. If you say if you say that you stand against a parent's right to make the choice for themselves as to what they want their kids exposed to, they won't be bringing their kids to Disney World or Disney World anymore. They'll either find another park to go to, another amusement park to go to, or just, maybe find some other thing to spend their money on. So, um, anyway, he then asserted, quote, I do not want anyone to mistake a lack of a statement for a lack of support. We all share the same goal for a more tolerant, respectful world. Where we may differ is in the tactics to get there, unquote. Chapek then explained his tactics to get there, quote, and because the struggle is much bigger than any one bill in any one state, I believe the best way for our company to bring about lasting change is through the inspiring content we produce, the welcoming culture we create, and the diverse community organization we support. In other words, the left may want to, chastise the right, but he knows that that's not going to do him any good because, again, they'll lose a lot of money doing that. He specifically notes that he will be using Disney content to propagandize this vision to the world. Mm-hmm. Propagandize as in propaganda. In other words, basically, what he's going to do is he's going to insert more. What he's basically saying is he's going to insert more woke stuff into Disney products, into Disney entertainment. Basically, what he's getting at. There's a quote. There's a reason content is at the top of this list. Yeah, because if you get kids to watch your stuff, if you can get kids to watch your programs, watch your cartoons, watch your sitcoms, watch, and you even subtly, put in put in these little storylines like, yeah, you have this couple here, you have this lesbian couple or this gay couple. You know, kids' minds are very impressionable. right? So they see it on TV, and they might get them thinking, so it's a little bit of subterfuge there. The fact is that many on the left just don't like the fact that there are parents out there who don't agree with them and don't want their own kids being exposed to it. And for the schools to try to force that exposure is wrong. Let's see. Quote, okay. For nearly a century, our company's stories have opened minds, inspired dreams, shown the world both as it is and how we wish it could be, and now, more than ever before, represent the incredible diversity of our society. Unquote. We are telling important stories, raising voices, and I believe changing hearts and minds, he added. I don't even know this. He added, okay. Encanto, Black Panther, Pose, Reservation Dogs, Coco, Soul, Modern Family, Chang-Chi, Summer of Soul, Love Victor. Um, these are all of our diverse stories, um, are our corporate statements. These and all our diverse stories are our corporate statements, and they are more powerful than any tweet or lobbying effort, unquote, he declared. Completely lacking any kind of self awareness, Chapek then stated, quote, I firmly believe that our ability to tell such stories have them received with open eyes, ears, and hearts would be diminished if our company were to become a political football in any debate. Unquote. Well, the problem is though Disney, to a certain extent, has become on other issues has become a political football. I guess that's what John was getting at when he made the statement. Lack of self awareness there. Well, we're already at an hour 45. Well, we're gonna have to be wrapping up soon. May go a little beyond the 2 hour mark here. Still lacking any self awareness, he claimed, quote, powerful content that changes hearts and minds only springs from inclusive cultures, which not only attract and retain the best and most diverse talent, but also give those employees the freedom to bring forth ideas that reflect their lives and experiences. We must work together to ensure Disney always remains such a place. Yes, but does that also include the conservative side of it too? You know, now this in this particular case, he seems to be siding with the conservatives in this case, or at least staying neutral in terms of um, not alienating conservatives by saying, by coming out and making a statement against the bill, even though there are a lot in the LGBTQ plus community who want him to. Um, but then, as he's probably has seen over the last couple of years, what would happen is the right would just simply stop spending money on you. You know. Now, granted, the left could do the same thing. The left, people on the left, yeah, we don't like what Disney's doing, so we want to stop. We're not going to spend any more money on them either. Anybody can do that. But they figured they try to bully him into making a statement condemning it, then that will work. But not going to, because even if you try to bully him and he does say something, the result is going to be that they're going to is that a lot of those parents who actually like the bill and want their parental rights reaffirmed, are will say, well, okay, if that's how you feel, if you think that I don't have a right to raise my child the way I want to, then I'm not giving you my money anymore. My family, we'll find a amusement park or an entertainment facility that respects us as people, respects our rights as parents, and we'll have a great time. And we won't give you a single dime. Next, Chapman touted the company's dedication, the LGBTQ plus message, writing, quote, in terms of our communities, we are and will continue to be a leader in supporting organizations that champion diversity, unquote. Okay, in 2021, we provided nearly $3 million to support the work of LGBTQ plus communities, unquote. Quote, and we have a long history of supporting important events like Pride parades and for being there in times of need, just as we were following the Pulse shooting in Orlando, he continued. Quote, all this is why we have earned a 100% rating, the Human Rights Campaign, for 16 years in a row, unquote. Touted. As he began to conclude his email, he addressed the company's political contributions to various politicians. Quote, finally, I want to address concerns about our political contributions in Florida. While we have not given money to any politician based on this issue, we have contributed to both Republican and Democrat legislators who have subsequently taken positions on both sides of the legislation. Quote, I can share that Jeff Morrell, our new Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, will be reassessing our advocacy strategies around the world, including political giving, as he begins to integrate the communications, public policy, government relations, and SR teams, he noted. And saliva went down the wrong tube there. Finally, Chapek declared, quote, our company has been a force for inclusion for a long time. That will not change on my watch, unquote. Quote, we all have a role to play in this effort, from the cast members who make magical memories for fans and families of all kinds, to storytellers who take audiences on journeys to new story worlds that illuminate our own, to everyone in between who is responsible for ensuring our cultural lives to our values, he continued. The Disney CEO concluded, quote, I hope we will all continue rowing in the direction of a better tomorrow. That, quote, force of inclusion, unquote, reared its true face when Reimage Tomorrow documents revealed the racism and discrimination Disney is attempting to indoctrinate their employees with. In documents obtained by Christopher F. Rufo and published in May 2021, the company claimed the United States of America is systemically racist. One document reads, quote, the murders of Breonna Taylor, Sean Reed, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Tony McDade, Nina Pop, Rayshard Brooks, Adame Traore, and countless others are part of the long history of systemic racism and transphobia. Well, that's BS. The documents also don't even try to hide their racist intentions as they instruct white and non black people to, quote, examine and work through feelings of guilt, shame, and defensiveness to understand what is beneath them and what needs to be healed. Actually, if I understand correctly, when that came out, that was actually meant, if anything, it was meant directed at white people to to try to become less racist, or that was their intent, anyways. But it almost sounds like here, in fact, well, but then again, what people tend to forget, the idea of racism is it's not just demoting one race underneath another one, but it's also at times promoting one race above another. So, in fact, documents also instruct employees to quote not question or debate black colleagues' lived experiences. Instead, quote white and non-black people unquote should quote acknowledge and listen with empathy the black colleagues share their lived experiences. One of the modules titled, quote, What Can I Do About Racism, unquote, even implies that employees should reject equality in favor of equity. Now, the different, my dad even explained this to me. Equality means every equality points to opportunity. In other words, everybody gets the same opportunity. If you put in the work, equity is talking more about results. In other words, everybody should be getting the same results. You know, it states equality is a noble goal. Equal treatment and access to opportunities help each of us perform our best within a shared set of parameters. But we really need to be striving for equity, where we focus on the equality of the outcome, not the equality of the experience, by taking individual needs and skills into account. And this is kind of the image they show here. Oh, equality is the one on the left there, where they all have one box, and you have the person on the far end there who's well above the fence. You have the one who's just over the fence, and the other one, even if they got on the box, wouldn't even reach the height of the fence. But equity is the one on the right there, where you stack a bunch of boxes up for. But then again, okay, and here's one of the other issues here, with this. Okay, and I know this what they're showing here is something that was more common, like 20s, 30s, for even maybe even well into the 40s, where kids would try to, if they didn't have the money to get into the ballpark to watch the game, they try to like either watch it through a hole in a fence or in a gate or something like that, or they just be peeking over a fence. Okay, so this is kind of like basically one is saying, okay, this is probably the wrong because there's another issue altogether there. But if you're unfamiliar with this concept, it's pushed by activist Ibram X. Kendi, who explained it in his "How to Be an Anti-Racist" book. He argues, quote, he defining, or I guess that's supposed to be the defining question, is whether the discrimination is creating equity or inequity. If discrimination is creating equity, then it is anti-racist. If discrimination is creating inequity, then it's racist. That's bullshit. Excuse my French there, but he further elaborates, quote, basically this is them just trying, with this whole systemic racism baloney. It's a certain group of people playing victim. They don't like the way the things are, so they're crying victim. So he further elaborates, quote, someone reproducing inequity through permanently assisting an overrepresented racial growth into wealth and power is entirely different than someone challenging an inequity by temporarily assisting an underrepresented racial group into relative wealth and power until equity is reached. Well, instead of blaming other people, get up off your lazy butts and do something. Don't just continually blame everybody else for your problems, dude. Clearly, Kendi is endorsing discrimination based on what one's skin color is, and this is a theory that Disney is pushing on its employees. Yeah, to factor in, to basically to battle racist by being racist yourself is the argument there. And while Rufo would claim Disney scrapped this program, that's clearly not the case, as Chapek references a Reimage Tomorrow summit that will take place in April. On top of that, Disney publicly launched the campaign in September. And there's a tweet there. Chapek might claim he doesn't want his company to be a political football, but his actions that he brags about in the email, as well as the entire email, aside from the statement, clearly indicate that's exactly what he's doing with the company, except that he's only playing for one team and has no intention of ever giving the other team the ball. Yep. You make a Chapek declaration that the company is yeah, I think it's a bunch of bull. That's what I think. Let's see. Does anybody else have anything to say on that? And we're at the 2 hour mark. I am gonna get to one last story here, anime story here before we head out. So we are gonna run a little over tonight. Just again, some of these stories just really, sometimes you get into some low points and then all of a sudden, boom, you have a bunch of stuff happen like all at once. And we apparently had a few things here. Joel Jones's tracing accusations against Joel Jones. Jason Aaron apologizing for and being called a racist himself. And then this stuff with what's going on here. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to our last story of the night here, which is an anime story, and then we will start to wrap up after this. Let's see now. All right. So, anyways. Anyways, okay. So here's the last article we're gonna go through tonight, and I guess I won't get to any wrestling news here because took some time on some of these articles. Spice and Wolf to receive a completely new anime adaptation. Article by Spence McCooley, published March 3rd, which of course was last Thursday. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. A quote completely new anime unquote based on the popular Spice and Wolf series of light novels has been announced as in production. And two is Asuna Hasekura. Surprise revealed alongside its first key visual by the series' official Twitter account on February 25th. The upcoming Spice and Wolf series will reportedly serve as a brand new adaptation of the fantasy tale relating the story of Kraft Lawrence and Holo from the very beginning. As such, the series will, unsurprisingly, be unrelated to the two-season adaptation produced by animation studio Imagine in 2008. And I remember seeing that one. That was a pretty good series. And I know Funimation did do the dub on that. I think you had J. Michael Tatum and Brina Palencia who did the roles of Kraft and Holo respectively. So it was a nice series to watch. Kind of is a fantasy type that can take you away from thing going on. In support of this announcement, the Denkeki Bunko imprint of Spice and Wolf publisher Ashi Media Works debuted a special promotional video on their YouTube channel, which recounted the series' history before concluding with confirmation that production on a new anime adaptation was underway. Quote, in February 2006, the 12th Dengeki novel, Grand Prize Silver Award, unquote, winning work, quote, smaller quotes, Tyson Wolf, was released, unquote, wrote Dengeki Bunko in the promotional video's YouTube description. Quote, it became popular as an economic fantasy with no sword or magic, and is February 2021, and in February 2021 celebrated its 15th anniversary in the series. So yeah, this was kind of a fantasy type anime that was pretty good, but it wasn't like sword and sorcery as much. It was just following around a merchant and his half human, half wolf companion. Uh, quote, and this time, production of a completely new animation of in the smaller quotes, Wolf and Spice has been decided, unquote. They commented, quote, with the support of our fans, the story of a wise wolf Holo and the merchant Lawrence continues, unquote. And this is from Spice and Wolf 2, episode 11, Wolf and the Decision to Part from 2009, Imagine. Again, it was a nice series to watch. Written by Isuna Hasakura, illustrated by Ju Ayakura, Spice and Wolf follows the travels of the aforementioned Kraft Lawrence, a traveling merchant who dreams of one day opening up his own general goods shop. However, after a short stopover in the town of Paslow, Kraft discovers that a wolf-like harvest deity named Holo has taken up residence in his cart. Wow. Ice and Wolf, Episode 1, Wolf and the Best Clothes. Wolf and Best Clothes, 8. Taking the form of a teenage wolf girl, Holo explains that ever since the local villagers have taken to finding their own ways to improve their harvest, she's found herself with more and more time to herself, with little tying her to the town and curious to see how the world um, how the world has changed outside of Paslow during their time there. Holo decides to join Kraft in his travels and explore the world for herself. Though this synopsis may lead one to imagine that Spice and Wolf is nothing more than a standard fantasy series, the truth is quite the opposite. Rather than focus on elements of sword and sorcery, as many fantasy series do, um, Spice and Wolf instead delves into other topics such as economics, theology, and the nature of passing time. Right before I continue here, I got to step away from the computer. I'll be right back. You know, they deserve. As an aside, it would also be a notable disservice to discuss Spice and Wolf in capacity without bringing attention to the baffling YA market, young adult market, pandering covers given by Yen Press to their initial 2009 English release, featuring photorealistic interpretations of Aya Kora's original covers. These ashamed abominations were used by Yen Press in an attempt to make the series appealing to more general audiences. I'm not even sure what they're meaning by that. What are they trying? Are they basically? What are they? What exactly are they getting at there? Oh, sure. There are some distinct challenges when it comes to positioning these books in our market, but ultimately, there are a lot more readers of novels out there right now than there are readers of manga and comics, wrote the publisher in an explanation of their cover choices. Quote, that's a huge potential audience, and we really want to help our novels realize that potential. Um, these are great stories, and we're proud of introducing them to whole new readership, unquote. Thankfully, the publisher has since reverted to using the original art for all releases of Spice and Wolf. As of writing, details regarding the series cast, production studio, or release date have yet to be revealed. Are you excited for a new Spice and Wolf anime series? Let us know. Well, could be. And it depends on who will dub it. I mean, if Sentai dubs it, then yeah, I would probably be even more excited. So, anyways, so that's pretty much it for articles tonight. As I said, we ran a little over tonight. So I'm going to start wrapping up here by getting into this day in each history. And before we do that, let me just remind everybody that Friday night, of course, is our historical comic retrospect, where we look back to the history of comics, go back and read older comics and see how they were written and published, from the very beginning. Um, this Friday, of course, we'll be starting our November 1938. We'll be starting with DC Comics, and of course, Backo will join me. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to this day in each history. History 72. Okay, so today being Monday, March 7th, 2022, let's take a look back at this day in each history. And our first stop, I'm going to head back 50 years ago today, as on this date 50 years ago today, um, the 200th issue of Volume 1 of Thor went on sale on this date in 1972 for 20 cents. It was 32 pages. And of course, the late, great Stan Lee was the editor of this book. Cover art by John Buscema. For this particular story, Beware If This Be Ragnarok was written by Jerry Conway, with art, of course, by John Buscema, penciled by John Buscema, inked by John Varutin, and Artie Simek did the lettering. So on this date, 50 years ago today, 200th issue of Volume 1 of Thor went on sale on this date in 1972. So with that, move on to the next piece in each history. And we have a good one for anime fans here. On this date, 30 years ago today, Toei Animation's Sailor Moon premiered on this date back in 1992. The first season of Sailor Moon debuted on this date back in 1992, 30 years ago today, on TV Asahi. Of course, this was the arc that covered the initial Dark Kingdom arc, I believe. But this is the first. So on this date, back in 1992, the first season of Sailor Moon premiered on TV Asahi. So with that, so now, and we have one more piece in each history, which is a bit of a, well, you could say it's a bit of a sadder note. On this date, oops. Okay, let's try this again. hit the wrong button. On this date 5 years ago today, a professional wrestler Ron Bass passed away on this date at the age of 68, 5 years ago today. For most of you, you might remember Ron Bass from his brief stint in the World Wrestling Federation. As the outlaw Ron Bass. For those of you in the southeastern part of the United States, you would remember him from his time in like Championship Wrestling Florida, Mid Atlantic Territory. He even did some time in like the Gulf Coast region as well. So on this date in 2017, 5 years ago today, Ron Bass passed away at the age of 68. So with that, everybody, I thank everybody for being here tonight. We did go over our usual allotment of time. Thank everybody for being here, and I look forward to seeing everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.